morning. I hope you guys are doing all right. I am. We are getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving, and so I've got to make my pies. I have a single oven, so of course on Thanksgiving Day the oven is totally full and cannot be used for additional items. So because we have a small family right now, next year won't be this way, but this year it is this way because we don't have a lot of people. I'm only going to be making pumpkin pie today. I'm starting with the pie crust. I'll come back later and actually roll out the pie crust, put it in the pie tins, and make the pumpkin that goes in there. Well, I'm not making pumpkin, but I'm making the pumpkin pie filling. How about that? So, but first I'm going to make the pie crust. I do like my own pie crust, but I learned how to make my pie crust from my mom, and I think hers is to die for. Sometimes, you know, people say that their pie crusts are the best, and they probably are. So, but I think that this one is the best. So, that being said, I have 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to separate 2 egg yolks, and they're going to go into a separate bowl. I'll put the shells somewhere else, and then we are going to combine them into this bowl. I have ice water in the refrigerator. And I have my butter in the refrigerator. It's really, really important that when making pie crust or pastries that your butter and your dough stay chilled. And so that is why we're gonna break this up into segments. We're gonna make the pie crust. After the pie crust is all incorporated, we're gonna put it back in the refrigerator where it will get cold again, and then later on today I'll roll out the pie crust. We'll put it into the pie containers, which I have here. I don't use the recipe on the bottom of this. I don't know if you can see it, but I love the pie tin, and I like that it's ceramic and it cooks really evenly for pie crust. So I really like it. I have this one and an apple one. We're just gonna make a couple pumpkin pies. It's not necessary to make more than that. I was thinking about making a peach cobbler, but honestly, there's just, you know, the 4 of us here. We don't need that much. So I'm going to make a couple, and my other pie dish here is this one. It's apple. Of course, I'm not making apple. I'm just gonna use the pie ceramic. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna start out by separating my yolks. Let's see if I can do it without creating a disaster here. So, okay, there's one. Look at that. Woo! That was close. All right, now that that is separated, just the yolks are in there, not the whites. I have my handy dandy recipe. I do actually use recipes sometimes. Most of the time I don't. I just throw stuff together till I like the taste of it, and then I go from there. Hold on, I gotta let Maddie in. All right, apologize for that. So, this is already pre-measured for the sake of time. I like to do a lot of prep work when I'm cooking because it makes things so much easier, and I can just incorporate things the way that they're supposed to be. So this is 2 cups of flour. And I know this is not a lot of ingredients, and I like a big bowl because I use this, it's like a pastry. I don't even know what it's called, but it really incorporates the butter well. I use it in my biscuits, my pie crust, anything where butter has to be broken down in a crumbly top or whatever. This is a very handy tool in this kitchen. I don't know if you've ever used it. A fork would work, but this is just easier on my wrist and my elbow and my shoulder. All right, 2 cups of flour. This is 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this, and then I'm going to add the yolk. So let me get a mixer. Okay, I just need a hefty spoon for mixing. I like these ones. That's a real thick handle. It's easier to hold on to. I'm just gonna mix the flour and the sugar together so it's evenly incorporated. This should be enough, I believe, for 2 pie crusts, which is all we need for that. Okay, now I'm going to add my yolk and I'm gonna combine it generously. Combine it. I need to get some of those like rubber spatulas. I think I have one and it's worn out. So I think I'm gonna have to get some of those in my kitchen. So I'm gonna generously incorporate it. Now it's just gonna add moisture to the flour mix. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's not going to like bring a lot of moisture to the mix. It's just going to add a richness to the pie crust dough and a flakiness that we're going to want when we eat the pie. Okay, oops, already making a mess. Now I'm going to add my butter, which I'm going to do, I think it's like 12 tablespoons, maybe 1.5 sticks. Let me look. So 12 tablespoons of butter. Let's see. There's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 1.5 sticks. I'll put these back in the refrigerator. And I open up my butter. So right, let me have a knife here. And like so. It's really handy to do it this way. Just makes all those already break into pieces. It's great. I'm going to just do that across the board. All right. I'm going to use that in just a second. I'm just kind of coating the butter with the sugar and flour mixture just in the egg. So then I just take this let me see if you guys can see. So we're just gonna incorporate this butter really, really well into the flour mix. Just keep going until we thoroughly incorporate the butter. So and then I usually take my finger like this. Now I do wash my hands. Just because you're not seeing me do it on YouTube doesn't mean it's not being done. It is. Keep going until I mix it to my desired consistency, right? So we have a pretty good distribution of the butter. It's going to be incorporated even more after we add the ice water. Now I have that chilling in the refrigerator in a bowl of ice and water because as handy as it would be just to go get it right now, it's time consuming and the butter will break down really fast. So let me go ahead and get that. This is my bowl of ice water. I'm going to go ahead and get my tablespoon and let's see. So it says like 2 to 4 tablespoons. Really, it's desired consistency, right? So we want all the dough to stick together, not be sopping wet, but stick together for that really good consistency. So this is, we're just gonna add a couple tablespoons at a time until we get the desired consistency. I'm gonna go back to my spoon and I'm gonna start incorporating that ice water. So this is clearly not enough ice water, but you can see that it starts to like begin to stick together a little bit. But let's add some more ice water. That's not enough. So that's 3. 4. It's starting to come together a little bit more. The nice thing about cooking is, I think, everything is according to the person who's cooking it and their liking, right? So I wonder if I follow rules the way in life the way I do recipes. Just add a little here and there. So you can see that we're still pretty dry. I'm going to go ahead and use my hands so I can start testing it out, right? So see how I can squeeze it and then it crumbles? It's still a little too dry. I'm going to want it to stay together. So let's see if we can get it. It's getting there. See that? It's getting closer and closer. I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to mix it too much. I'm going to add maybe just 1 more tablespoon of ice water. And I'm going to go ahead and use my hands now because I really want to make sure that we're mixing it thoroughly and that I'm feeling the consistency. That's getting much better. It reminds me of gardening when you're testing your soil to make sure it's not too dry or too moist. When you're testing your soil, if you garden, it's like this, right? You can squeeze it and it holds together, but you can't squeeze the moisture out, but it doesn't crumble too much. That's good consistency for garden soil. Although pie crust is much better tasting than garden soil, obviously. So we're looking really good. I think I want to add 1 more tablespoon. I want to be able to roll this out without having any issues, right? And I don't want to add a lot of flour when I'm rolling out pie crust because look at that. There we go. This is enough for 2 pies, I believe. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in saran wrap. I think that's an excellent consistency. I can squeeze it. It's not crumbling. The butter's thoroughly in there, although my hands are warm, so the pie crust the butter will melt and melt and melt, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this in saran wrap and put it in the refrigerator. So I have a little bit of a mess to clean up. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this pie crust in saran wrap so that it's protected. And I'll do a little bit better than that. I just want to get the first one on there. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator, and then I'm going to let it chill for a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to clean up this mess, and then I'm going to mix up some pumpkin pie filling, and I'll bring you for that. And then when I'm ready to incorporate the two together, I'll bring you back for that. All right, so now I'm going to work on the pumpkin pie filling. I have 1.5 cups of sugar here. I actually do a little bit less because I feel like pumpkin pie is super sweet. I just get regular all natural pumpkin. I do not get pumpkin pie mix already mixed up. I just get pumpkin. And it doesn't have to be Libby's. That's what was available for me. I normally get one big can, but they didn't have any, so I have little cans. So I'll do 2 cans. I'm sure this will make plenty of pie, and then I just times 2 on the back of the recipe of here, and that's what I use for my pumpkin pie. I use evaporated milk, not condensed milk. If you use condensed milk, you do not need to add sugar. I use evaporated milk so I can control the amount of sugar that I use, and the sugar that's in condensed milk is way worse for you than granulated sugar. Not that granulated sugar is the best, it's just you can control it and you know what's going in your food. It's 4 eggs, each of these is 2, so I do 4 eggs. And then for the seasoning and spices is salt, ground cloves, ginger, and cinnamon and stuff. And so I'll be using my handy dandy measuring spoons because I do measure on these, of course. So we're gonna start out by opening up these cans. I have to get my one spatula, hold on. After I open these cans. So, my one handy dandy spatula. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add the pumpkin in first. I really like to make sure that I get it all out of the jar. There's that. Then I will go ahead and add the sugar and incorporate it in with my whisk. Now sugar will go into pumpkin and dissolve, or sugar actually can go into any amount of liquid and eventually dissolve. And so it's not like flour. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and drop the sugar in. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix it all together. See how it just mixed in really nice and well. I'll come back to my spatula in a minute. All right. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and mix in my eggs. So, three, 4, over there. Get our eggs really nice and mixed in. Nice. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my seasonings. So if you see on the back of here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right here. This calls for 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna put in my 1/2 teaspoon. I'll probably put in a whole teaspoon so that, but I always do the 1/2, right? And because I'm doubling it, I'm just going to do 2 halves, all right? Now, if you miss the salt, it's gonna taste weird. So you don't want to do it. Mix that in really good. Get it stirred around in there. All right, what is it next? It's cinnamon is 1 teaspoon, so we're gonna do 2 teaspoons. So, lid here. This is 1 teaspoon. Now, with these, you could probably just do whatever you. With cinnamon, you can add more or less depending on whatever you like. Ginger, I don't do that with because it will, ginger and cloves are really powerful. It will change the flavor of your pumpkin pie. Ginger says half a teaspoon of ginger, so we're gonna go 2 halves, which makes 1. And then cloves, which is super powerful, it only asks for 1/4 of a teaspoon of cloves. So we're gonna go ahead and do 1/4 teaspoon. That's this right here. And we'll do 2. My house is gonna smell amazing today. A little bit more. Didn't get a full 1/4. All right. Those are all the spices. Get them mixed in here really well. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape the sides of the bowl with the spatula and just really make sure that we get everything incorporated in there. All right, we have our evaporated milk. I'm gonna go ahead and shake it up because it says to. It says shake well. I'm not sure why. Probably if it's been on the shelf for a while, you'll just want to shake it up in case there's any sediment. Pop the cans. And while it's dumping in there, I just try to incorporate it so that, well, it mixes really well then. And it's easier to mix in the second can because you don't have so much liquid sitting on the top of everything. It's mixed in there. And we'll do the same thing with the second can. All right, this is good and mixed up. So we can go ahead and let this sit. I'm going to keep my spatula. There's a little bit more pumpkin on there. Get all that pumpkin. So it looks super watery right now, but that's okay. It'll thicken right up. So I'm gonna keep my spatula in my sugar bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up. And we're gonna let that dough continue chilling. I'm gonna put saran wrap over this, put it in the refrigerator, and then in a little while I'll come back, roll out the dough, and we will make pumpkin pie. All right, our pie crust is nice and chilled. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap it. All right. Now for this pumpkin pie, the oven has to be preheated to 450. We'll cook it for 10 minutes at 450, and then I take it down to 350 for the remaining time. Now, I normally roll this out on parchment paper, but I think I'm out of parchment paper, believe it or not. So I'm just gonna split the dough in half. All right. Put half back up on there. I'm gonna put this half back in the refrigerator so that it stays cool. My house is warm. And then I use this rolling pin. It's for pastry. I don't wash my rolling pins, I just wipe them off. Anyway, so I'm gonna try and do this directly on the counter. This has been disinfected and cleaned. I'm gonna try it directly on the counter and we'll see how it works out. I'm a little concerned. Yeah, this is not gonna work. So I'm gonna get really floury, and my apron is currently being washed, so I don't have another one. pie crust. This pie crust will cover that, I think. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fold it in quarters. I'm gonna pick it up and carefully unfold it in my pie crust, or my pie container. Oh, we have plenty. Lovely. Can even adjust it so it's nice. Awesome. All right, it's nice and even. We're gonna go ahead and cut the sides off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and, these are my kitchen scissors. They're only used for kitchen things and they get washed. They're not allowed to be outside of my kitchen and used for other things. You can ask Edward if he does have to buy new scissors, and I get cranky. All right. This makes for an easier way. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and fold up, and just, if you fold it up around, and you get that beautiful edge there, and then we'll shape it to hold. Pie filling. Okay. So we just shape it like so. Whoops, just knocked that down. This one is a little short. Let's see if we can take some of our extras here. And press that in and over, kind of fix that a little bit. Perfect, but it is pretty. So there's one pie crust. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the refrigerator, and then we're gonna move on to the next one. Bring the flour towards the middle. Now, I don't mind using flour in like fruit pies because there's lots of juices in there and it adds a thickening. I haven't used flour in a pumpkin pie, but we're gonna go for this and see what it's like. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator. I'm going to clean up this mess. We'll come back, fill the pies with the pumpkin, and as soon as the oven is done preheating, we'll go ahead and put them in the oven. We have our pie crust is cooled. We've cleaned up the mess from rolling out. By the way, I do have to say Butcher Block, with the way that we did this, is phenomenal for rolling out pie crust, I'm sure pizza dough or anything, and then cleaning it up. It doesn't stick whatsoever. It just wipes right up. Like it's almost like a non-stick pan, but for your counter. It's fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and get my spatula, and I'm going to start pouring the pumpkin into the pie crust. So here we go. Just want to very carefully pour it in. Oh, I just made a mess. I knew I was going to do that. I'm going to add a little bit more to this other one. All right. We are good. I did make a mess, so that sucks. But that's okay. I'll clean it up. I'm going to go ahead and put these pies into the oven and set the timer for 10 minutes. And then we'll go ahead and turn it down to 350 and bake the remainder of the time. And when I bring you back, they'll be done and I'll show you what we did. So I just want to let you know I just took the pies out of the oven and they turned out beautifully. I mean, look at that. They're just gorgeous. This is where I spilt it a little bit earlier, but that's okay. Nobody cares about that. Anyway, they're really beautiful, nice and deep pumpkin pie, and the crust is going to be divine. I think it's going to be really lovely. Anyway, I will be coming back and recording how I do my turkeys and stuff. Of course, I will not be posting on Thanksgiving. This is special because it's up to, but I will be recording how I make my turkey and do my stuffing and that kind of stuff. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. God bless.